Today's video, we're going to be replacing the rear brake pads on my 2007 Ford Mondeo. It's a few hooks and tricks, but it's relatively simple. Let's get into it. Tools we need for this job: wheel brace, slide grips, G-clamp, 13mm socket, preferably in a 1/2-inch drive, 13mm ring spanner, a screwdriver, a hammer, the pads of course, and a jack. First thing you want to do, pop the bonnet and take the cap off the brake fluid reservoir. Next job, of course, take the wheel off. You want to make sure that your car handbrake is off and that your car's in gear for obvious reasons. You'll probably want to chock one of the front wheels as well. But anyway, it's a bit of safety before we get that wheel off. Once we get the wheel off, you need to leave that wheel underneath the car so that if the jack fails, the wheel will hold up the car. And we've done an extra one here, bit of safety with a wooden block as well. So if you look down there, you can see we've got 2 backups for safety as well as the jack. Next job, of course, take the caliper off, the 13mm socket. These ones come off fairly easily, but you may need an extension handle on your ratchet. And just the 2 bolts, the only thing holding the calipers on. Okay, now we've exposed our worn pads. Work those out, they just pop out. Okay, now we're putting the new pads on. You see this one's got a metal tag on the right there. Okay, that's not going to fit in the front. It'll fit in the back, but not the front. So remove your metal tag before you put your pad on the front side, but leave it on the back. Next job we need to do is to push the piston back in. Okay, now that we've got fresh pads in, we need to push the piston back, otherwise we're not going to get it over both the pads and the disc. As we see here, using a G-clamp, it's a good method, and these are screwing, so you need to put pressure on the piston and wind it as well. So this is where the slide grips come in handy. And you just want to keep the tension on and just slowly wind them back in. It's a better job if you've got 2 people, one keeping tension on the G-clamp while one's winding. That's unless you've got 4 hands. Once you've got the piston all the way down, make sure that one of the slots is facing straight down so it can align with this little stud. That just helps keep everything centered, and it stops the piston from unwinding itself. Once you've put both pads in correctly, slide the caliper back on and tighten her up. I couldn't find any torque specifications, but you'll want to crank it up reasonably tight, as tight as you get with your hands without leaning on it too hard. With the new pads in, the calipers on, all you got to do now is put the wheel back on. Once you've got the wheel back on, and of course you've torqued it up if you want to torque it, you want to go and check your fluid in your reservoir, make sure it's not below the level of the intake, which it won't be, unlikely, because you've just put pads in and pushed the pistons back in, which will raise the level in your reservoir. Anyway, as long as you haven't compromised your fluids, that is to say, let any air into the system, you should be all good. 2 or 3 pumps on your brake and she should get firm. If it doesn't firm up your brakes, then you've got an airlock somewhere and you'll need to check on that. Just check your handbrake as well also. That may need adjusting after you've put the new pads in. Last thing to do, of course, put the lid back on your brake fluid reservoir. And that's it. Hope this video's been helpful for you. I've got a few other ones around with basic maintenance of a Mondeo. So if that's of interest to you, hit subscribe and I'll see you in the next one.